the largest of these new groups, which you may have heard of, is Moms for Liberty. And its name does sound innocuous enough. Moms, great, sounds good. Liberty, awesome. Who doesn't like liberty? Moms for Liberty. As the mom of 2 young kids, that even sounds good to me. But it's vague enough that even some of its own members are pretty unclear as to what the group is really all about, what they're a part of. Because as benign as Moms for Liberty may sound, its agenda is unmistakably extreme.
Oh, I love it. This is so good. Let's not be fully distracted by Trump and all this other stuff. We need to know exactly not just what Moms for Liberty does, but what the DOJ has been doing to them. Great investigative reporter at the Daily Wire, Luke Rosiak, is here. Luke, how you doing, brother?
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me.
What is the Moms for Liberty?
Moms for Liberty is just a group of center-right parents who are concerned about, making the schools left-wing indoctrination machines. They want it to go back to normal, where they teach you math and reading and science. And they're against things like transgender ideology and CRT and things like that.
They're so extreme. What you just said is so unbelievably extreme, Luke.
Yeah, they're just parents that think they should have some input into the places where their kids spend 6 hours a day. And so there's a unit within the Department of Justice called the Community Relations Service. And this is the part of the Department of Justice which is, quote, dedicated to preventing and responding to community tensions and hate crimes, bias, bullying, and discrimination. And so new documents that we've obtained through a lawsuit against the Department of Justice, we had to sue them to get these things. And the Daily Wire sued them along with attorneys from America First Legal. And we just got these documents that show that they were tracking Moms for Liberty alongside the Ku Klux Klan, the Oath Keepers, and then terms like noose, Confederate flag, and swastika. And this was really the only group, other than the KKK, the Oath Keepers, and a second white supremacist group, that was thrown in there, just casually throwing in there this group of ordinary moms.
Wow. Tell me, what is this Department of Justice group? What do they do normally?
So they're supposed to prevent hate crimes and respond to hate crimes, but then they also throw in their community tensions. So what happened here is one of the things that happened from them tracking Moms for Liberty is this alert came up talking about how they were doing transgender policy in Virginia. Some of the conservative school districts were considering adopting a policy that said schools should not gender transition kids without their parents' consent. And Democrats didn't like that. They wanted the schools to be able to turn a boy into a girl and hide it from the parents. And so there's a very conservative district in rural Virginia where Republicans win with like 70%. And they were presumably going to adopt this policy that was supported by Governor Glenn Youngkin. And so the DOJ says, well, there's some tension around this because you have this Republicans who have a mandate of 70% of the vote, but then you have a couple of leftists who are causing trouble. And a couple of them actually went to a school board meeting and screamed and got detained by police for like disorderly conduct. And so if this were a conservative disrupting a school board meeting, they're arrested by police and the DOJ puts them on a terrorist watch list, basically. But when a leftist disrupts a school board meeting by potentially violating the law, the DOJ says, well, this just illustrates that there's community tensions and we're going to need the DOJ to come in and kind of mediate. And maybe we need to give in to these leftist activists so that they don't commit more crimes. That's a suggestion here, is the DOJ basically approached the conservative school board and asked them to basically cede their authority because schools in America are run by local school boards. And they were basically pressuring these conservative school board members to defer to the DOJ in some capacity and let them work it out and solve it so there isn't all these tensions around transgenderism. But the only thing that could really mean is instead of, in a democratic republic, we have elections and that's how we decide what kind of policy should go on in schools. They're basically saying if there's tensions, in other words, if leftist activists are causing trouble, then we need to have a mediation and we'll just kind of all sit down and split the difference.
Wow, that's amazing. That story is very different than what I thought. I thought you were going to say there was a liberal school board and conservatives came in and yelled in the microphone and went beyond their 60-second time limit. And that was the tension that the DOJ felt the need to come in and monitor. But it was the opposite. But the monitoring wasn't done on the lefties who caused the tension. It was done on the conservative board itself.
It's fascinating. It's like no matter what, the left is going to win because they call it either hate crimes or community tension. So it's kind of unclear. They either viewed the policy backed by Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin as itself hate, and therefore the DOJ could come in because someone's considering a parental rights thing that won't let kids be secretly gender transitioned. That's hate. The federal government needs to step in and stop this Republican governor from doing policies in his own state. Or it's tensions because left-wing activists are going crazy, in which case we also need to let the DOJ come in and do its thing because we want to diffuse tensions by giving in to the leftist activists.
Okay, you got 60 seconds. What does this mean that the DOJ is getting involved in even monitoring Moms for Liberty? What's the big picture concern about that?
Well, I mean, I think it leads to distrust in the federal government. I mean, this is a serious breach of trust, and it's also just kind of a waste of money. I mean, I got all these documents from this lady, and she's typing in like Google alerts for like N-word District of Columbia. And it's like, what, did you find that someone said the N-word in D.C.? Did you find that D.C. is secretly anti-black? What would you do if the DOJ found out that someone said the N-word in D.C.? So it's partly a story of incompetent bureaucrats who are just getting paid to sit around and really contribute nothing to society. And then on the flip side, when they do something that's not just a waste of time. It's kind of potentially this serious overstep where you're involved in the DOJ and you're thwarting local control of our schools, and you're basically treating normal moms as, potentially domestic terrorists practically.
Yeah. Things used to be just a waste of money, and that was its own problem. But now the communists have taken over. It's much worse than that. Luke Rosiak, investigative reporter for the Daily Wire. Luke, keep up the great work, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Mike.
If I ever get the opportunity to fill in for Jesse again, we can tell the story in California where some conservative school boards tried to pass local laws, school board policy that says teachers will tell parents if their kids are transitioning. And the state just came down and passed a bill that says, no, you can't do that. You must keep it a secret from parents. Unbelievable. Nothing like this has ever been done before. It's called Politics by Faith with me, Mike Slater. We are bombarded with news all day long, and I don't know about you, but it makes me anxious and worried and all these not good feelings. So in Politics by Faith, we take the news of the day, we lament the brokenness of it, and then we take the turn and we give you a biblical or historical perspective, and hopefully that will bring you some peace so that you can fall asleep at night and reminding you of what is in your control and also what is not. Hopefully this will change our perspective of how we look at the stories of the day. Politics by Faith. It's available now everywhere you download podcasts. Politics by Faith with Mike Slater.